Uh, all right. So, first of all, please introduce yourself for the audience.
Hey, my name is Jessica Hammond, and I'm an artist from Sioux City.
All right. So, next question. How did you get to where you are now?
Um, well, I've been an artist for my entire life. I think when I was a kid, my favorite thing to do was always like arts and crafts or drawing. Um, so I've always been into like art and music and creative things like that. Um, Throughout like high school and college, I would just doodle in class all day, and that's how I would stay awake. And then, so I went to school for audio engineering and I worked as a stagehand at the Hard Rock for a few years. So I was doing live sound for all the concerts and stuff, and that was fun. And I was always doing my artwork on the side throughout that entire time. And then after that, I had a job as a barista at Hardline Coffee. And during that time, I started to get a bunch of art commissions and just kind of was able to start making a little bit of money off my artwork, which was really cool. And then in March of 2020, we all know what happened. The pandemic struck, the Fire Nation attacked, and everyone's life was shaken up.
Uh,
So that was the point that I became a full-time artist. And I did my first mural in 2019 for the Alley Art Festival, for the first Alley Art Festival in Sioux City. And that was pretty awesome. I never really saw that as a possibility for myself. So it was just a lot of fun. And during the pandemic, I think it was May 2020, when got my first mural commission. So, like, where I got paid to do a mural. And pretty much ever since then, I've just had a bunch of mural jobs lined up and just been chipping away at them.
so, you make a decent living off of art then?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting there. I'm doing what I can.
You're not homeless, so there's that.
Yep.
So, uh, tell me a bit more about the alley art. You called that like the first thing, which was like really major.
Yeah. So the Alley Art Festival, have you ever been to it?
I can't say that I have.
Well, next time you're in Sioux City, you should go check out these alleys. It's the alleyways between 4th Street, 5th Street, 6th Street, and then Pearson, Nebraska streets in downtown Sioux City. Um, so in 2019, the the 2019 was the first year of the Alley Art Festival. It was started by Vanguard Arts and Downtown Partners as like a way to raise funds for Vanguard Arts. And Vanguard Arts is this nonprofit in downtown Sioux City that does a lot of live music and does some art gallery stuff and does art events. So anyway, the Alley Art Festival was born in 2019, and that's the year that I did my first mural. Um, and then the next year, I was asked to be on the planning committee. So I've been on the planning committee of this thing for the last 3 years, and we it's kind of a mural festival. So there's this alleyway in Sioux City that's a little rundown, and started painting a bunch of murals in there. So every year we get more and more people down there painting on walls. It's actually really cool because now, since we've been doing the festival for 4 years, uh, there's like a bunch of murals that just kind of bleed into one another, and it's really great. Um, but anyway, so the Alley Art Festival was actually last week. The day of the festival is like a big party with live music and live mural painting and art vendors and food trucks and kids activities and stuff like that. But so that happens every year, but the alleyways you can check out any day of the year. So I definitely recommend to anyone listening to go check it out. It's a constant evolution of murals.
All right. And just for reference, I think I'll put down in the comments I think there's a way you can like link a Google Map location or something. If that doesn't work, I'll just leave the names of the streets between which the alleyways are.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
All right. So that can't be the only major art event in Sioux City.
Definitely not.
All right.
Um, there are a number of established ones like Art Splash and Latham Park does like an art festival every year. The Alley Art Festival, maybe I'm a little biased, but it's my favorite one. Saturday in the Park definitely includes a lot of art within that whole festival as well, which is cool. Um, but yeah, I'm actually a part of a little group that's starting a new festival right now. It's called Big Deck Energy, and it all started with a skate deck art show in Lamar's. Um, there's these two tattoo artists named Jonas and Jesse Lynch, and last year they did this art show where they handed out a bunch of blank skateboards to different artists, and whether they like painted or carved or whatever, just took it home, made some art with it, and brought it back, and then they hung up the art show. So they decided to do that again this year, and so they had their show in Lamar's, and then a group of us from Sioux City got a hold of them, and we started planning like a part two to that art show that's going to take place in Sioux City in October. Um, but it's pretty cool. So we've handed out over 100 blank skateboard decks, and we're just waiting for the artists to make the art and bring them back in a couple weeks. And then we're going to hang the show in Art Sucks Gallery for a few weeks, as well as have a big skate park skateboard competition event in the middle of 4th Street downtown. So that's a new event that I've been working on. It's like an art show and a skateboard show all in one.
Well, attracting multiple audiences.
Yep.
Anyway, you mentioned Art Sucks. If I remember correctly, that's a little art gallery in well downtown Sioux City. Uh, why don't you go ahead and elaborate on that a little bit? I think I've been there, and I remember it being a bit interesting. It's actually where your studio is, isn't it?
Yeah, I remember meeting you there actually. Um, so Art Sucks Gallery is a little gallery in downtown Sioux City. It's actually a pretty big gallery, but so it's in the same building as Hardline Coffee. So if anyone has heard of them, they're also there. So pretty much the gallery is home to about 20 local artists, and each of us local artists that are there, we rent our own studios, and then in the main part of the building, there's like a main gallery, so we all have like one piece hanging in there. Um, but yeah, it's a really cool little community of artists. We do little art events and art shows and art walks, and we host kids art events and stuff like that throughout the year. So I really love having my studio there because it means that I don't get a bunch of cat and dog hair in my paintings all the time, like I did when I was painting at home.
Right. Well then, curious. Do you guys have like a website or something I could easily link in the comments, or I guess I could just provide like a Google Maps to Hardline
Yeah,
Coffee.
yeah, that would work. I also think it's artsucksgallery.com. I could be wrong though.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. I figure if I do if I do a Google search, yes, I can talk. I should be able to find if there's a website for the gallery.
Yeah, you'll find it for sure.
All right. So, talked about two different. I suddenly can't remember the word for event. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes the brain. Anyway, you've talked about two different events. Are there any more? I would expect there to be.
Um, well, those are, I guess, two of the ones that I'm most familiar with because I'm on the planning committees.
Makes sense.
My friend Kitty and I did make an appearance at Art Splash this year. Have you been to Art Splash?
Yeah, I think I have in the past. Not recently, due to you know what.
Yeah. So Art Splash is like the Sioux City Art Center's annual fundraiser. And so every year, I don't know how long it's been going on, but every year they have like a bunch of touring like art vendors set up and they do a little live music and they do a lot of little kids activities and stuff. Um, but this year, actually, my friend Kitty and I were hired by the Sioux City Musketeers to do these two big paintings of the Clark Cup. So the Musketeers won pretty much like first place, right, for the entire season last season. And they've had this Clark Cup. It's this giant trophy that they've been like touring around town and all that. And they wanted us to make two paintings of it. So they're pretty much the same painting, like the same design, but they want one to hang at the Tyson Event Center permanently, and they want one that they can auction off at their Jersey auction, I believe around New Year's. So they hired Kitty and I to live paint at Art Splash. So we spent Labor Day weekend, I believe. We spent that Saturday and Sunday outside painting on the front lawn of the art center. And so now we have these two giant 4 foot by 6 foot paintings, and they're not quite done yet. We're actually finishing them up this week. But yeah, so that was kind of a cool way to be connected with Art Splash, even though, you know, um, I'm not part of the planning of it or anything like that.
Well, nonetheless, I'm sure that the prospect of, I mean, that seems pretty big. You know, what with one of those being permanently put up in the Tyson Event Center, and the other one,
Yeah,
well, wherever that one ends up.
no, it's pretty exciting actually. It was really cool when they reached out to us to do that because it's something new that we've never done before. I mean, Kitty and I have done a lot of live paintings. So normally what that entails is like at a local show, like a music show, we'll set up an easel and a canvas on stage and we will paint in front of the crowd while the music is going. Um, so we've done quite a few of those, but this one was really interesting. Um, just being at Art Splash, being around all those people, being outside, it was awesome.
I can imagine. So, all right. Yeah, you keep mentioning a kitty. I'm not familiar with her. A friend of yours?
Yeah. Yep. So Kitty is one of my best friends and my studio mate, actually. We share a studio at Art Sucks. Um, we've done a lot of collaborations together. Actually, that first mural that I painted in 2019 was with Kitty. So they've pretty much been with me since the start of this whole art career. And it's cool because we just kind of grow alongside each other and bounce ideas off of each other and help each other brainstorm and just kick the world's butt.
Indeed. So, you mentioned. So I guess you like met her when you were first doing that. When you were doing that first mural, or was
No,
this?
we had been friends for a while. Actually, we used to be in a band together, and that's how we met. Because I was working with their girlfriend at the Hard Rock, and we all decided to start a band, me and two of my coworkers. Um, and we needed a singer. So Charlotte said, you know, Kitty can sing, and we were in a band together for a while before before we started doing art together.
Well, that's certainly interesting. A
Yeah.
band, you say? Um,
Yeah, we were in a band called, well, it was originally called Between Strangers, and then we changed the name to Brainwreck. And we actually played our last show on March 14th, 2020.
you want to tell me a bit of your experience with being in a band? Because that's something I don't believe you brought up before.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, so I've been playing guitar since I was 13 years old, and I've played in a few different bands. I had this like death metal band in high school, but we never really played any shows or anything. We would just jam out in the garage. And then I went to college for audio engineering, so I met quite a few musicians there. Um, and I played in a couple little groups there. We would like do gigs around Western Iowa Tech. Um, and then uh, so when I was working at Hard Rock, that's when we started that band with Kitty and Charlotte. Um, and I'm also in another band right now called Fall of Kings. We're a groove metal band, and I play the bass in this band. And it's kind of funny because I never owned a bass or really played the bass at all until I joined this band. Because they already had two guitarists and they just needed a bassist. And I was like, well, I don't have a bass, but I could play the bass. And so now I am the bassist, and all I know how to play on the bass is our original songs and the Tetris theme song.
Well, it sounds very based.
Yep,
Uh,
good one.
yeah, it physically hurt me to say that. It's alright. Um, so you say it's groove metal? Uh,
Yeah, so it's kind of heavy. We have a female lead singer, and then we have like our drummer and our guitarist who do screams in the background. So it's a little heavier than what you might hear on the radio, but it's chill enough. And it's groovy and it's heavy and it's fun. I like to bounce around on stage and whip my hair everywhere.
so it's like chill. It's like diet metal. I don't mean to discount it, but
Oh yeah, well, I mean, not exactly. I think it's like it's a little heavier than some people might like, but it's also pretty digestible, I would say. So yeah, maybe you're right. I don't know. I'm not good with genres, but it's it is what it is.
I mean, I'd look up some music or an example, but I don't want to get this video taken down by YouTube's automatic copyright system. So,
Oh, well, our stuff is definitely not copyrighted. But we also only have one video out on YouTube right now. So stay tuned for more from Fall of Kings.
all right. So then, I think I've poked about your musical career, some of your art career. Uh, you never did really elaborate much upon that first mural, aside from the fact that you and Kitty were both involved in it.
Oh yeah. Well, so Brent Stockton from Vanguard Arts hit me up one day and asked if I wanted to be a part of the Alley Art Festival, like a mural festival. And I had no idea what that meant, but I was like, yeah, I'm down. And then a few weeks later, we had a meeting for it, and I invited Kitty to come along with me. And so that year, since it was the first year, it was a little more experimental, you could say. So we all went out and picked our spots, and Kitty and I pretty much decided to get our spots right next to each other and then make it into one giant mural. Um, so I'm not exactly sure how big it is, but it was pretty cool. Designing it, we just threw a bunch of ideas at the wall and we created this like skeleton lady with a laser beam who is in space, and there's a bunch of space animals and a bunch of trippy shapes. That's the best I can do to describe it. You'll have to go check it out sometime. But it was really fun just being outside and painting with my friend and climbing up on the ladders and like making this larger than life artwork that I never even really like thought about before. And it was just so fun. Like I think I really got hooked because um I really like just like working hard to create something huge. You know, it kind of reminded me of building stages at the Hard Rock, we would just take this parking lot and turn it into a music venue through our blood, sweat, and tears, and like work our butts off to create this giant thing. And that's kind of how the mural felt. Like me and my friend just working really hard to, we put a lot of hours into that thing and carried a lot of paint and all that stuff. So it was just so cool to see it all finished. And I pretty much have not stopped since.
So you just got started in art and you just haven't stopped then.
Yep, pretty much.
Well, here's hoping you don't, because, well,
Well,
I
thank you.
might be a little bit biased towards it, but I think art is cool.
I would have to agree. I
Yeah.
think art is also like, for me, it's really important as a creative outlet. Um, like my art and my music and like writing poetry and writing whatever. Everything that I do like that it's what helps me like stay sane.
Yeah. Something to keep us all grounded, different from
Hmm.
person to person.
For sure.
So then, unless I feel like that generally covers your modern day, what about, I guess your upbringing then? Your parents good?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my parents loved me. Um, I definitely had parents who encouraged the creativity and, they let me try a bunch of different activities to figure out what I liked. And, you know, I used to do musical theater as a kid. I think that was like where I got my first, or it was like my first time performing, and I really enjoy being a performer. So I think it probably roots back to that. And my parents just, you know, taking me to these activities and making it possible for me to have those experiences.
Yeah. I decided to ask about your parents because I found that for the other people I've interviewed, supportive parents are a good little mixture into the ingredients for success.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, they were awesome. My dad and my stepmom always thought that my high school metal band was too crazy and intense, and they told us that we should play cover songs instead, but I thought that sounded lame, so I just kept playing metal.
I'll go to you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm getting to the point where I can't think of any other strands to pull on, unless you have anything else that you would like to talk about. I think this was pretty good of an interview.
Awesome. Yeah. No, I think that's that's all I have on my mind. If anybody listening wants to check out my artwork, you can just find Brutal Doodles on Facebook or Instagram or my website, brutaldoodlesart.com. Um,
I will make sure that
I've
is
always
linked in
got,
the comments.
yeah, I've always got something going on, so, and I appreciate you interviewing me.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
All right.